For this week, we'll be kicking things off with gold. Now, gold, ever since coming into the 1810 era, which I predicted, price just bounced off. And to be honest with you guys, I never expected this bounce to happen, all right? Because I was super bearish on gold. But when these things happen, you need to take the back seat and see how price unfolds so that you know what to do next. You don't just bounce over the places because price is bouncing all over the place, right? So yes, I was expecting price to keep falling, but price has given us 2 significant weeks of bullish price action. Now let's go to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, have we created new highs? Yes, we've created new highs. Obviously, we are trading around here at the moment and price has taken out these zones. However, price is seeing a strong rejection at this zone for quite some time now. Price has not been able to break above this particular zone here. All right, so price is facing a strong resistance at that zone. However, for price to be able to take out that zone, I may like to see this play out, for price to pull back to retest these zones that was just recently taken out, right? Just come for a retest before we gather momentum to push back into the 2000 areas, right? However, price has been so bullish that we may next week break above here straight up. Then if we break above this zone, this particular zone right here, then I would like to see a retest. Then when we are coming back into this zone for that retest, then I would like to switch to the lower time frames to now look for buying opportunities to buy into this. But what I'm expecting to most likely happen next week is to see a pullback from the 1976 area to around 1941 area before we continue bullish. I would actually like to see that. But second option is for price to actually take out this 1976 area, break above it, then come back there for a retest before we continue bullish into 2000 area. Is there need to go to the 4-hour time frame? So the 4-hour time frame is basically just like the daily time frame also. So I would like to see price pull back into the 1941 area before we continue higher, or for price to take out the 1980 area from where price is currently, then come back for a retest so that I'll look for buys from the 1980 areas into 2000 areas. All right, so that's my outlook on gold for the incoming week. I didn't place a single trade last week because I wasn't comfortable with price movements. Price literally moved sideways all week, well, at least for the pairs on my watch list. I will start taking trades again if price shows more commitment this week. Now let's dive into the USD pairs I will be looking at next week, starting with DXY as usual. So for DXY, price actually ranged throughout last week. All right, and price has been super bullish for months now. There's no denying that fact. From this zone, let me even put an arrow there so that you can follow. From this zone to this zone, this such an impulsive move. At some point we need to come back for a retest, for a pullback. And what can you notice here? Let me circle that zone in. What can you notice here? You will notice that the past 3 weeks has been sideways. Do you notice that? The past 3 weeks here, let me zoom in properly so that you can see it. This is the weekly time frame. So each candlestick on this particular time frame represents 1 week of price action. So you can notice this red 1, then this green 2, and this one 3. You can notice that they literally moved sideways. So that signifies weakness. So does that weakness mean that we are going to change from a bullish trend to a bearish trend? Definitely not. All right. Price is super bullish on the US dollar right now. So there is no changing of trend happening anytime soon. All right, but there will be a pullback, right? And as it stands now, I'm beginning to look at the possibility of that pullback coming into this area before we go higher. I'm looking at 2 areas for the pullback to come into. This area, which is the 13055 area. By the way, I'm using Dow Jones dollar index for this particular analysis. Dow Jones FXCM dollar index. All right, it's available on TradingView for free, so you can just search for this and maybe map out these charts to follow what I'm saying right now. All right, so I'll be expecting price to come into the 130.55 area. If we break below that area, then this is where I would like to see the pullback come into, which is the 12,969 area before we continue all the way to the top. For the fact that we've closed last week with a bearish price action, I may be expecting to see continuous bearish price action next week. All right, however, if we go to the smaller time frames, I'm going to show you multiple scenarios, all right, just in case price fails to come in for this pullback. So do we miss out on all the opportunities next week? Should price continue higher next week? Definitely not. Now let's go to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, let me remove this and this and this. So on the daily time frame, yeah, it's just like what I showed you on the weekly time frame. So I would like to see price come into this yellow. Is this yellow? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. All right, so come into this yellow zone or into this gray zone before we continue higher. This is the daily time frame, by the way, but let's go to the 4-hour time frame. What if price fails to come back into these zones, and let's say next week price just continues pushing higher? Then I would like to see price, in fact, let's go to the 1-hour time frame so that we can see things clearly, right? So I made sure I plotted this resistance zone like this, all right? There's no right or wrong way to do this, all right? You just want to capture as many touches as possible. So in my own case, I've captured 1, 2, I can bring this in 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the point. So there's no right or wrong way to do this, but just make sure you are capturing many zones that price has bounced off from, all right, historically. So now price is finding it difficult breaking above that zone. So for me to know that we are most likely going to drop into this yellow zone for a start, let me even put a line in that yellow zone or at the top of that yellow zone so that we can keep tabs with it. So that line there is the price for that line is 130.75. So if price takes out this trend line on this 1-hour time frame, let's say price takes out the trend line and breaks below, goes back for a retest, then I will expect USD to fall into this area. At least that will be my first target. You get the point? So if this happened, that literally means we are going to expect Euro to dominate USD next week. We are going to expect GBP to dominate USD next week. We are going to expect NZD to dominate USD next week, and so on, right? That's if price falls on the dollar index to the downside. But if price breaks above this zone, now breaking above this trend line also in the process, comes back for a retest and we start pushing higher, then we are going to see USD dominate in the USD pairs. I hope you get the point. So if this upper break play out, then my initial target will be the 13274 area, all right, for this particular dollar index. So I'm expecting either of these two to play out next week. So now that we've seen what is happening on the dollar index, let's start things off on the dollar pairs with NZD USD. First of all, I want to see how we closed for last week. But before we continue, guys, if you've made it this far and you are yet to smash that like button and hit subscribe to this our channel, what are you waiting for, guys? Do us a favor and reward us with your precious likes and your subscription. Thank you as you do so. Now let's dive back into our chart. Now, last week on NZD USD, I called your attention to the fact that I'll be expecting price to continue falling due to the way we closed for last 2 weeks, right? And that's exactly what has played out. Price has fallen, but I didn't take this trade. Why? Because if we go down to these smaller time frames, like the 4-hour time frame, price was just, I mean, we even opened last week with a gap up. I was saying price was going to fall and there was a gap up, right? Then of course price came back to fill the gap. Let's even take a look at what we are looking at. We'll come back to the weekly time frame, but let's take a look at what I'm talking about. If you look at this zone, price was trading at this area last week, right? And then there was a gap up. Just after my analysis, there was a gap up. I was like, what the f is going on here, right? But actually price still came back and aligned itself with our analysis. But before we go into the analysis proper, let's take a look at the weekly time frame. So you can see that we've seen at least 2 strong bearish weeks on NZD USD. So I now know for a fact, because I've been saying it for quite some time, for weeks now, that price is going to fall into 0.56527 area, and we look to be trading in that direction as we speak. As a matter of fact, we've even created a new lower low here. If you can spot the lower low, I'll show you. You can see at this point price created a new low breaking below here, right? Then we went back for a lower high, and now we have a new lower low because this is obviously lower than this, right? So next week I may be trading this particular pair if I see a good pullback. Now let's go to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, price has effectively created a double top here, right? And we've broken below the neckline. So what I would like to see next week is for price to continue to the downside. Now let's take a look at the 4-hour time frame. So this was the gap up I was talking about earlier. Then price came back, broke below. This was where I should have gotten into the trade, but I mean, price around this region has been quite choppy. So I just wanted to see market commitment. I wanted to see price commitment, and I've seen that. And there's a retest that has played out after price effectively broke below these areas here, right? So for next week, I'll be expecting continuous push to the downside. Now, to get into this trade, I'll most likely want to see price come into this area here then before we sell to the downside. Remember my target from the higher time frame, right? My overall target is 0.56527, and I'm expecting price to come down there at some point. For next week, I'll most likely want to see price pull back into the zone before I jump into the trade. What if price fails to push up higher into that zone before giving us an opportunity? Then I'll switch over to the 15 minutes time frame and watch how price takes out this zone. Now price is sitting on the 15 minutes support level. All right, so from this zone we could easily go push higher here, just like I mentioned, from the 4-hour time frame before we collapse all the way to the downside. Or next week price may just take out this 15 minutes zone, retest that zone, and then I'll catch a trade from there all the way to the downside. All right, so this is my analysis on Nzdusd at the moment. If anything changes, then I'll definitely drop updates. Sorry about that. I'll drop an update on the Telegram channel. The link to the Telegram channel is in the description of this video below. It was quiet in there last week because I really didn't like what price was doing. So I just wanted to be sure what price was doing so that I'll know what to do next. Now, the next on my list is Audusd, AU. Now, Audusd is moving just like Nzdusd. However, we didn't get a bearish close for last week, but there was a sharp rejection at the top of the candlestick. You can see the long wick, so that still signifies selling pressure, right? Now, if we go to the daily time frame, price also on the daily time frame is quite choppy. You can see the movement not quite clean, right? It's quite choppy, too choppy for me, but thankfully I've been in this trade from the top here. That's why I worry less about the trade at the moment, right? But if I had entered a little bit late, then I'll be worried about the trade. I probably would have closed with whatever by now, right? So now let's go to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, last week price was trading around here. Last week, I remember price was trading around here last week, and I was like, I would like to see price for the incoming week break below that support level, give it a retest, then we'll collapse to the downside. However, price just kept pushing higher, right? But in the later stages of last week, price fell back. So literally, we are trading around where we closed last 2 weeks, right? So which means my analysis remains the same. So for next week, I would like to see price take out this support level here before I start taking trades. All right, if it breaks below it, then comes back for a retest. When it comes back for that retest, it is inside of that zone. I would like to catch a sell trade and trade all the way down into 0.62000. That has been my target ever since, right? If we now take that 0.62000 out, then we'll start looking at new targets. But let's get there first before we know what to do next. Now, next on my list is Usdjpy. Usdjpy has been quite choppy, so I won't be trading this anytime soon. Until we create new higher highs or new lower low. Now, by new higher high, that means until I see price take out this high here. All right, so I would like to see something like this. Then that is when I will know that we are going to continue trading higher, because I want you to notice something. When price is in a trend, before changing trend, you will notice a little bit of choppiness. At least this happens most of the time. Now let's look at previous price action, right? If you look at this zone, price was bullish, but when it came into this zone, there was some choppiness, some sideways movement before the next drop to the downside, right? And this happens quite often. If I move further into historic price action, when price rose all the way here, there was some choppiness before the drop. When price dropped here, there was some choppiness before the rally. You understand? Then when price dropped here again, there was some choppiness. So price always moves like this. I'm beginning to suspect that is what may happen on USD JPY. If you go to the JPY index, I don't want to dive into JPY index, but if you look at JPY index, you will notice that price is quite choppy also on the daily time frame and all of that. So I don't have much to say on USD JPY at the moment. It's too choppy. So for me to trade USD JPY, price has to create a new higher high, like I mentioned earlier, before I take it seriously, or for price to create a new lower low on this daily time frame, or I break below here, then before I take it seriously, before I start selling USD JPY. So USD JPY, I'm on the sidelines for now. I have nothing much to say on USD JPY. Now Euro USD EU. Euro USD is a reflection of what happens on dollar index. All right, so I gave you two scenarios, buy and sell scenarios on dollar index. I'm going to do the same on Euro USD. Now Euro USD looks to be choppy, just like I explained on USD JPY earlier, right? For the past 3 weeks now, this is the weekly time frame. So each of these candlesticks represent weekly price action. So you can see 1, 2, 3. The past 3 weeks now, price has moved sideways. So that's beginning to show weakness from the side of sellers, right? And price is about to go into buys, at least for the meantime. Now by buys, I don't mean that price is going to shoot all the way to the upside. No, price is only going for a pullback, all right? And where makes sense for me for that pullback to come into on this weekly time frame is the 1.07073 area. That is the area that I'm expecting price to come in for the pullback, right? This was that recent zone that was taken out, so I'll be expecting price to come back into that zone. If you've not watched my market structure video, this is the video up here. Just click the link and you understand why I think if this pullback is to play out, then this is where I'm expecting it to come into. So if this play out, then that will give me a solid bearish continuation from here. This will now be my next ideal swing trade to the downside. Okay, so if this pullback is to happen, then this 1.07073 area is my ideal zone where I will continue bearish from. All right, now let's go to the daily time frame. The daily time frame last week was quite choppy. I mean, we have 5 active trading days in a week, and you can see that we basically just moved sideways all through last week. I mean, each of these candlesticks represents daily price action, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see we literally didn't have any clean move up or down, except if you were trading on the lower time frame, which is most likely a day trading strategy, right? But this is not suitable for holding trades for an extended period of time. Now let's go to the 4-hour time frame. What if price fails to continue higher, just like I did on dollar index? Then I would like to see price come all the way down, because obviously price is in a range, right? Obviously price is in a range. You can see price is bouncing below, bouncing up, bouncing down, bouncing up, bouncing down, bouncing up. So it's not a suitable environment to trade, except if your trading strategy is based on range. All right, so then this will be a strong thought. But for somebody like me, I don't like trading in ranges, except if I'm just scalping and all of that, right? So now if price fails to continue upward for that pullback for next week, then I will start looking for sells once price takes out this trend line. All right, let me make it thicker so that you can see. I'll start selling should price take out this trend line. Let me even put my arrow there. Where's my curved arrow? All right, then a pullback, then I'll trade into 1.04669. What about buys? Well, guys, I'm not buying below these trend lines. I'm not buying below this trend line. Even if I have to wait another week without placing the trade, I'm ready to do that. All right, you can see this trend line has held for a long time now, so it's unwise buying below that trend line. I mean, if I buy, then where will I put my take profits? Above the trend line? No. So I'll have to wait for price to take out this trend line. I even have two. This is one, then the other one I showed you earlier, which is this one, is the second one. And again, we have a resistance at the top. So guys, I'll be very patient for price to actually take out those trend lines and this resistance up above here, then come back for a retest. That is when I will start looking for buys. All right, that is when I'll start looking for buys to the upside. Trading is patience. If you lack patience, then I'm sorry for you. Trading is not for you. You are just going to keep making money and blowing it back, making money and blowing it back, making money and blowing it back. No revenge trading, peace of mind, execute when you are comfortable, and that is the only way you will remain in this game for a long period of time. So that is my view on Euro USD in a nutshell. Then next on my list is GBP USD. GBP USD basically just look just like Euro USD. It's also in a range. Let's look at the weekly time frame, by the way. So the weekly time frame is finding it difficult breaking below this zone. I called your attention to this zone on the monthly time frame. Let me even take you back to the monthly time frame. I told you that we'll have to struggle. This was like 2 weeks ago. I remember, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I told you that it would be a struggle to actually take out this support level here. And no wonder we are experiencing that difficulty right now at the moment. If we go to the weekly time frame, you will see that we have actually moved sideways for the past 4 weeks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Price has basically just moved sideways. So actually last week I thought price was going to keep falling because of the way we closed last week, but it didn't give me any good entry reason, so I just had to stay on the sideline. So just like Euro USD, I will be expecting price to pull back into the 1.23995 area before we continue lower, should price like pull back at least. All right, now if we go to the daily time frame, it's basically the same. I would like to see that pull back into this daily area here, which is 1.23198 before we continue lower. Or let me even make that place a zone. Let me make it a good zone. All right, because as we know, price doesn't necessarily have to come into this line precisely before falling. All right, it may come into this zone. Just watch how I capture the zone. The zone is between 1.23443 and 1.23810. all right, so between those zones and including this line 1.23198. all right, just keep an eye on these zones here for price to like pull back into it. But let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Let's see if are we going to be taking advantage of this pullback, or we'll just be on the sidelines. So on GBP USD right now, I really don't even have anything interesting to say. Let me plot this nicely. Let me do this like this. Let me do this like that. It's touching here, touching here, touching here. So we should be expecting a third touch. So guys, I don't have any bullish scenario for GBP USD for now. All right, all I have right now is a bearish scenario. There's nothing much that I can see right now. So all I have is a bearish scenario, which is around the 1.20547 area. All right, so what I would like to see is for price to like break below this support zone, come back for a retest before now collapse all the way to the downside. However, should price continue higher, let me go to the 1-hour time frame so that can we take advantage of that push up higher. Guys, honestly, I'm sorry for now, except maybe within the week, if price creates a zone, right, then I could call your attention to that within the Telegram channel. But for now, of course, I would like to, if price is to move into here, of course it has to take out the zone, and it is around these areas I would like to buy from. All right, but I'm looking at my target. I mean, there's a trend line right in front of me. I don't want to trade into that trend line, so that's why I'm being skeptical about the entry. But let's see how price unfolds next week. You know, price always creates its own zone, so let's see how price unfolds and we are going to trade accordingly. But what I am certain about for now is the bearish scenario. So should price continue lower and will break below the 1.20547 area. Then if we break below it, I'd like to see a retest before we now swing all the way to the downside. So guys, that's about it for the week. If you are yet to smash that subscribe button and like this video, now is the time to do so. Thank you very much. And let me also know your view about the market next week in the comment section down below, or probably what pair you are looking at for the incoming week. I may just look at it and I'll have to thank you for pointing me in the right direction and all of that. All right, I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. I didn't place any trade last week except one on my prop firm account, which I used to pass a new prop firm that I actually bought. I'm going to post that on the Telegram channel, so look out for that post, and I'm going to even make a video on it. All right, so let me know what you are looking at for next week. And also, if you want to learn how to do this, then you want to enroll in our mentorship program. This is the link in the bottom of the screen down below here. The link is also in the description of this video down below. So do yourself a favor, get enrolled and take your trading to the next level. Thanks for staying to the end of this video once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.